Welcome, friends. This is an ongoing series on natural law and consciousness. Today I'm going to be talking about tolerance. We need to be living moral and virtuous lives. We also need to remember the past, to remember the terrible torments that were suppressed upon people because of intolerance. The ruthless extermination of people of all sexes and ages, sometimes because of their misfortune not to believe or understand in the creed of some religion. The thumbscrews, the racks, the whip, the gallows, the stake. These were all instruments of torture that were used against people who would not submit to the authority of the church at that time. We should remember these martyrs for truth. There were those who were tortured and murdered for standing up for truth and challenging the authority of the Christian emperors and papists of that time. We should all remember those of all ages who have suffered from hunger, nakedness, prison, the rack, the stake, the sword, etc., all in the name of religion. And oppression is still being practiced in the name of religion. There are countries in which laws are forbidding freedom of speech on matters relating to religion and religious freedom of expression. The harsh mutilations that these have been in the name of God, including the barbarities of the imperial torturers, the torments of the Inquisition. This is where the Roman Catholics heaped atrocities, cruelties towards those who they considered to be heathen. History should be a warning of the unspeakable evils in the matters of religion, investing the God of love with cruel and vindictive passions. We should remember the multitude who were tried, tortured, and burned according to the authority of the church. Now, no authority, no church has the right to usurp the authority of God to condemn and punish others for their beliefs. The religion in which we were raised is often an accident of where we were born. If we were born in a Protestant land or family, then it is likely that we're going to be of that faith. However, if we first opened our eyes in Rome, we might be a devout Catholic. If we were born in Israel, we might call Christ an impostor. When born in Istanbul, we might cry out, Allah is great and Muhammad is his prophet. Birth, place, education, these are all things that give us our faith. Very few people believe in any one religion because they have examined the evidence of its authenticity, then made a formal judgment. How many people know anything about the proofs of their faith? We believe we were taught, and the most passionate believers know the least evidence of what their creed is based on. Facts and testimony are not, except in very rare instances, grounded in faith. Now, should we accept without question the beliefs of our family, our community, our country? Well, faith becomes part of our nature, and it resists all the evidences that contradict what we believe. We will disbelieve evidences, even of our senses, and yield to the religious belief on which we had been raised. What is truth to me is not truth to others. The same argument that convinces one mind makes no impression upon another. No one is entitled to positively assert that they are right, when other people who are equally intelligent equally well informed, directly hold the opposite opinion. Then who is right and who is wrong? Each thinks it is impossible for the other to be sincere, and each is equally in error. Because what is truth? That's a profound question. To many people, the beliefs of the former and present times seem incomprehensible. A man superior to myself in his intellect and his learning, now he sincerely believes what seems to me to be just crazy. Now his reasoning may be perfect, just as perfect as mine. He's honest, yet he believes what seems to me ridiculous. Now, this means that our dreams become our realities. No one can say that they have possession of the truth. When a person entertains an opinion that is opposed to another person, and each person is honest, then who should decide what is true? Who is right? Who is wrong? We do not know the truth. What we believe in and feel certain about is our truth. No one is responsible for the rightness of their faith, but they are responsible for the uprightness of it. Therefore, no one has the right to persecute another person for their belief, for there cannot be two antagonistic rights. No person has the right to persecute another because he is satisfied that the belief of the other is erroneous. The truth comes to us tinged and coloured from man's mind, from one man's mind to another, or woman. It's no merit in a person to have a particular faith if he has prejudices against another person's faith. Muslims have no right to persecute Christians. Christians have no right to persecute Muslims. Both Muslims and Christians believe in one all-powerful deity. Therefore, whoever preaches tolerance is part of that charity. No evil is so afflicted as the world intolerance of religious opinion. People slain in various ways because of religious intolerance. In total, the number of slain people would double the population of Europe. If it wasn't for the passions of evil people, we might be living in a paradise. The people who truly obey God will tolerate those whose religious opinions oppose them. Everyone's opinions are their own private property, and each has the right to believe what they want. They have the right to maintain their own beliefs. Merely to tolerate, to bear with an opposing opinion is to assume it to be heretical. No one has a right in any way to interfere with another person's religious beliefs. It holds that each person is sovereign as regards to their own beliefs. God is the only magistrate that can be a rightful judge. Protestants, Catholics, and the Jews need to live in peace, in harmony. The Muslim and every person who will lead to a true and virtuous moral life, who will love his brethren, minister to the sick and the distressed, and who believes in the one all-powerful, all-wise God, the creator and preserver of all things. For those 1,000 blessings poured upon us, let us feel the sincerest gratitude, now, henceforth, and forever. Amen. The major religions teach us moral precepts and tolerance. Zoroaster taught about doing the right thing, about charity, avoiding pride, vice, falsehood. He taught about forgiveness, and not seeking vengeance. The Druids taught devotion to friends, indulgences for reciprocal wrongs, love of the deserved, praise, prudence, humanity, hospitality, and respect for the old age, temperance, contempt of death, and polite deference to women. Hindu texts teach us to honour our parents, to never forget blessings, learn while we were young, seek the company of virtuous men, speak not of God but with respect, live on good terms with others, and speak ill of nobody. Confucius stated, "The doctrine consists solely on being upright of heart and loving our neighbour as we love ourselves." Hebrew law states, "It is better that a neighbour is near than a brother that is afar. Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself." Socrates said, "Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself." And this same doctrine has been taught again and again throughout different mystery schools, especially in Babylon, Alexandria, and Jerusalem. Intolerance should mean not tolerant of. Now, with the understanding that as one suffers, all suffer, and that tyranny results when evil is left unchecked, then what we should be intolerant towards is specific as it relates to natural law, the common good. Not necessarily towards societal customs, so-called common sense. Some people don't like the word intolerant, but intolerance without wisdom has led to unnecessary human suffering. Cicero discusses this, particularly what is right. He argues that for it to be right, an action must first be just, and next it must be practical. The most just and the most right action is firstly just and then practical. Being intolerant means not looking the other way towards wrongdoing. Society suffers because so-called good people, following common sense, choose an expedient action over the right action. They allow evil to run unchecked because of fear. In this regard, those who ignore wrongdoings will be viable for the consequence of their ignorance. The evils heaped upon the Jews in Nazi Germany and the poor people of Stalinist Russia. Now, these atrocities only occurred because so-called good people, including Christians, were going along to get along. They were tolerant of this injustice. They turned a blind eye towards the human suffering and human rights abuses. The peoples of the countries where genocide is taking place will suffer the karma, the consequences of ignoring those in need and for not standing up and doing what is right and taking down an evil dictatorship. There are actions that people might deem as wrong, yet do not contravene natural law. Therefore, a degree of tolerance can be shown. These actions come more under the heading of ethics. So ethics is subject to time and place and the current laws. Civil offences such as loitering, littering, disobeying frivolous laws come under this heading. Also, licentiousness, so long as it doesn't involve adultery. Some societies may regard homosexuality as unethical, but consensual sex does not contravene natural law if there's no harm that's being done. The ingestion of mind-altering substances is a person's sovereign right. People have the right to put what they want into their bodies, even if it is harmful. However, the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Poisoning one's body is a crime against one's own soul. But that's between the individual and God. No one has the right to impose their will on a person because of what they choose to ingest, unless that behavior is causing harm to others. We can lead a person towards the right behavior, especially towards their own body, but we can't force others towards moral behavior, because doing so will be breaking the natural law principles of respecting the sovereignty of others. Drug addicts are often victims. They need compassion. We should not be tolerant towards those who harm others to support a drug habit. People with an addiction who harm others should be removed from the place where they're doing harm. And it is a moral right to assist drug addicts to get help for their addictions. It's not right to punish them or imprison them. Now, the 10 Commandments deal with things regarding sovereignty. The sovereignty of others, for example, taking that which one does not own. Examples that involve stealing of some kind include sexual abuse. This is the stealing of virtue. Slavery, which is the stealing of one's freedom. Torture, the stealing of a person's possessions. Adultery, compulsory military service, murder, and crimes towards others for reasons of race or religion. Moral behavior benefits not only an individual, but society as a whole. Prudence needs to be exercised in the issuance of justice. It's not right to let morally slide one thing for a paycheck because of fear. It's not right to unfairly judge, to demean, to punish, to degrade an immoral person. Actions need to depend on the situation, and they require wisdom. The wisest person should determine the right action, and this action should always be just and fair. Morality is easy to understand, and it should be part of the educational system. Children should grow up understanding the difference between right and wrong when they're doing harm to others. This concludes the session on tolerance. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Send me feedback. Let me know how I can improve. Also, if you have any questions or if you think that I'm wrong about anything, please include these comments below.